Hello and welcome to grammar class. Today's lesson is sentences of advice, suggestion and proposal. You see, we can give advice or suggestion in various ways. We can use the imperative sentence to give advice or suggestion directly to a person. As you know, an imperative sentence begins with the first form of the verb. Because its subject, the second person pronoun you, is understood, not used. A negative imperative sentence expressing advice or suggestion may begin with never or don't. For example, the imperative sentence take exercise daily expresses advice. In this sentence, the subject you is understood. So it begins with the first form of the verb take. Then in the next example, do give up smoking, the emphatic do has been used before the first form of the verb give. So this imperative sentence beginning with the emphatic do denotes strong and emphatic advice. Don't waste your time is also a piece of advice. But here the advice is to not waste time. It starts with do not because it's a negative sentence. Inform the police is also an imperative sentence denoting a suggestion made by the speaker. From these examples we understand that we use imperative sentences to give advice or suggestion. However, to make your advice or suggestion forceful or emphatic, use the emphatic do before the first form of the verb. The modals should, might and ought are also used to give advice and suggestion. Now look at the patterns or structures of the sentences of advice or suggestion on your screen. Subject plus should or ought to or might plus the first form of the verb followed by other words. For example, you should not quarrel with your neighbors. This is clearly a sentence of advice. Here the speaker is using the modal should to advise a person to not quarrel with his neighbors. We might also use the modal ought to give advice or suggestion. For example, we ought to be united now. Remember, after the modal ought, an infinitive with to is used. But after the modals should and might, an infinitive without to is used. So the sentence we ought to be united denotes a suggestion by the speaker. The next sentence you might change your diet also expresses a piece of advice. Here the speaker is using the modal might to give advice. Now look at the second sentence structure on your screen. The subject plus should or ought to or might plus have plus the third form or past participle of the principal verb followed by other words. An example of this sentence structure is you should have spoken the truth. Should plus have plus the past participle of the verb speak, spoken. This sentence structure indicates a suggestion about the past. The speaker means to say that it was advisable for the person to speak the truth in the past, but he didn't do so. Now I am going to teach you three very interesting expressions of advice and suggestion. These three expressions are had better, had rather, and would rather. From the sentence structure seen on your screen, we understand that we may use one of these three expressions after the subject and before the first form of the principal verb to give advice or suggestion to a person. For example, if you tell someone you had better travel by car, you are advising him to travel by car. In this way, the expression had better denotes advice. You might also use the expression had rather in place of had better for the same purpose. He had rather see a doctor at once. Here the speaker is making a suggestion for someone to see a doctor at once. Had rather and would rather can be used interchangeably. For example, the sentence you had rather or you would rather not reply to this message denotes advice. We may use either had or would before rather to express suggestion or advice. Now look at the last example. They had better not buy this property. It means it is not advisable for them to buy this property. In other words, it is not a good idea for them to buy this property. If the sentence is negative, we use not immediately after one of these expressions of advice. And then comes the first form of the verb. Now, generally we use the word why in an interrogative sentence, that is to ask a question. However, sometimes to give advice and suggestion also we use a why sentence. But the structure of such a why sentence is slightly different. The sentence starts with the word why, but the second person subject of the sentence, you, is hidden and understood. You is not used in such a sentence of advice. So clearly, after the word why, we use the base form or first form of the verb followed by other words. The sentence ends with a question mark and not a full stop, though it denotes advice and not a question. For example, why waste time in pointless gossip? Here the speaker does not intend to ask a question. He simply means to say, don't waste time. It's a piece of advice. The next example, why not try again? Look at the sentence structure. The subject you is not used here. Though there is a question mark, it does not denote a question. Here the speaker is advising someone to try again. So why not try again means try again. Likewise, the sentence why brood over the past is a sentence of advice. It means don't brood over the past. But we also notice here that if the sentence starts with why, the advice is given for not doing something. On the other hand, if the sentence begins with why not, the advice is given for doing something. Here comes another interesting sentence structure. What about or how about plus the fourth or ing form of the verb plus other words. So sentences beginning with what about or how about plus present participle or the ing form of the principal verb may also indicate suggestion or proposal. We have 3 examples to show this type of sentences. What about going to the park? Though the sentence starts with what and ends with a question mark, the speaker is not exactly asking a question here. In fact, he is making a suggestion. He is like, it's a good idea for us to go to the park. We can also use how about in place of what about in such sentences. How about watching a movie this evening? Here the speaker is suggesting that they should watch a movie this evening. What about visiting Europe in the holidays? This sentence also expresses a suggestion or proposal. The speaker means to say it's a good idea for them to visit Europe in the holidays. But remember, a suggestion or proposal is always open for acceptance or rejection. Hence, this sentence structure is polite and popular. Last but not the least, we also use sentences starting with letters to offer advice or suggestion. The sentence structure is given on your screen. Letters plus bare infinitive followed by other words. Bare infinitive means infinitive without to, or simply the base form of the verb. For example, let us enjoy a picnic. This is a sentence of suggestion or proposal. Here the speaker is giving a suggestion that they should enjoy a picnic. However, sometimes we use the question tag shall we at the end of the sentence to sound polite. For example, let's go fishing, shall we? This is a polite suggestion or proposal. In this way, we learn that such letter sentences are used to give a suggestion or proposal. Take another example. Let's go home now, shall we? Here too, the speaker is giving a suggestion that they should go home. The use of the question tag shall we adds a sense of politeness to the suggestion. Now the last sentence. Let us not argue amongst ourselves. This is a negative sentence with not coming right after let us. The speaker is suggesting or proposing to his people that they should not argue with one another. That's it. I hope you liked the video. Please be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe to our channel. And do not forget to click the notification bell for more grammar content. Thanks for watching.